Let's see if this works. Should be working. Why is it not streaming? Live. This is live here. Having issues. Ugh, we're such boomers. Bear with me. Let's see.
Just throwing old ketchup packets at my dogs. Shut them up.
1 sec. It's not. Fuck. Wait a minute. Okay, it's streaming. I don't see it on YouTube, though.
This is bizarre.
Okay, but they can see you here. Okay, that's weird. Let me go to my YouTube. 1 second.
All right.
That's cool. That it's that I want to be able to see it myself.
You're
but
on
we're
the
on.
show. Everyone can see and hear you. It says.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out how it's streaming because I'm looking at my YouTube and I'm not seeing it there. So.
And I've got a giant microphone in front of me, which is probably best. There we go. There we are.
Okay, here it is. This is it, live.
Yeah. We're live?
We're live. We've been live.
Well, I want to get ready for this thing.
Here we go. Okay, I got it.
All right.
Now it's.
Cool.
I'm going to put mute here. Okay. Live chat. Perfect. Okay.
How you doing, man?
I am doing. Okay, so there's a little bit of a delay. Okay, I'm doing great. So I thought for this we would do something very different. This is the first one I'm doing, so you're the guinea pig. Okay.
Okay. I like being the subject of experiments. This is like the Milgram prison experiment without the, bullshit faked results.
I thought it would be a good idea because usually you and I talk politics on camera and stuff, right? But we hang out as friends a fair amount. We enjoy each other's company. So you guys are going to see, the audience is going to see what it's like when Kurt and I hang out, because I'm going to tell you a story that I know you don't care about, but we'll get to see the full Kurt Schlichter. Okay. So do you ever have sometimes in your mind that you just remember something and then you just can't stop figuring out what it was, like you go down a rabbit hole?
Yes, all the time. That is one of my problems.
What is the? Give me one example when that's happened with you.
Oh my gosh. Let's see. I had damage to my car once recently, and I because I'm turning it in on a lease, I was going round and round in my head about how I was going to deal with getting the car fixed and turning it in and dealing with my insurance, and it would not leave my head. I don't know if that's what you mean, but that was my personal obsession. And
we got a super chat. Kurt, they're saying turn up your mic.
Oh, okay. I will turn up my mic. I don't know how I turn up my mic. Hold on. Good God.
I never heard Kurt be too quiet before, and now he's gone.
Maybe I'll just yell louder. How's that? How about now? Am I louder now? Is this good? Is this working?
It sounds good to me. It sounded good to me before.
All right, there. I'm back. Back in the New York groove.
So, people could just send us questions if they want. So this is what I want to tell you guys about. So I tweeted about this. It was 1:45 a.m. earlier this week or last week, and I go to bed at 2. And they're saying it's not. It's too quiet. Let's see if I can change the audio on my end. Audio. No, that's there. Yes.
I don't have a control panel. That's the thing. I've got a nice mic. See, it's one I use.
Yeah.
Should be good.
Okay, this is, we're using a new. What's it saying? Turn your mic down. I'm not using a mic. I'm using my camera mic. Let me turn my mic down. That's fine. I could do that. Oh, that's mute. Welcome to Boomer Town with Michael and Kurt.
This fancy technology bothers me.
Okay. Hi to Sebastian and hi to Sean. Okay, so anyway, how do I know what I could do. I'll do that for next time. Is this guy's okay? I hope it's okay. Oh, Kurt, they're saying you're not. This was never a problem in the Soviet Union. They're saying you're probably not using. I'll use my real mic.
They want me to use my here. I'm using a different. I'm using the mic on the iPad. Is that better? Are you guys happy? Have I danced for you like a fucking?
It sounds exactly the same, so I think you were using the iPad before and not the real mic.
See,
that was the issue.
All right. Okay. Now the mic says I'm using the mic. Am I using the mic?
That sounds better.
That
hopefully.
sounds great. Great.
I don't know. Anyway, so it was 1:45 in the morning, and I remembered 10 years ago, there was a facial scrub I really liked. Okay?
Oh, God.
And then I had to start looking up.
You have a very demanding regimen, as I remember.
I'm a modern-day Patrick Bateman.
Nice, nice. I was thinking about bone ivory business cards as I was walking by Hermosa Beach today. True story. Whistling Studio.
And then I start looking for what this was called. Because all I remembered is that it smelled like cafe au lait. So then I'm looking for coffee scrub, caffeinated scrub, cafe au lait scrub. I couldn't find anything. And then I found the email from 11 years ago when I last bought it, right? And I found it on eBay. It's discontinued.
Joe Glow, head to toe.
So I haven't smelled this since 2009. But I'm about to bust it out and see if I like it still, or if it's become disgusting. Oh, it doesn't smell that good.
You know, your olfactory senses have matured.
Or yeah, oh, I remember how this smelled. Yeah, this hasn't changed too much. It's not that good. Oh man, I was all excited about this.
It's not it that changed. It's you.
What do you mean? Yeah.
You've moved in different directions, scent-wise.
Yeah, it's not sophisticated. I thought it was all. Oh man, god damn it! And it came in the box.
It had a sophisticated, edgy kind of vibe with it, and it just turns out it's another pedestrian face stink.
Yeah, but they don't even make it anymore, so people haven't heard. So I want to know how you're holding up.
Off like eBay or something?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, there's like some dude. He's like, he's got like 10 boxes in his garage. He's just waiting for somebody to offer him 15 for him.
It's a cat lady. It's a cat lady.
Of course it is.
I want to know how you're.
Your Joe Glow right here.
I want to know how you're holding up with the. Patrick says, given the conservative rhetoric that the Bill of Rights has been suspended under the quarantine, why haven't conservatives used their guns to overthrow the government? Isn't that the point of guns? I think that's. I mean, he is speaking your language.
I'm digging down through various levels of premise to try and get to some sort of intellectual bedrock. Okay. The mere fact that people possess guns to use to deter tyranny and to protect lives and liberty does not mean that guns are the only tool. We are not carpenters, and everything is not a nail. Okay, there are extensive and myriad other things to do before you start shooting people. In fact, shooting people has only happened in relatively rare cases in a systematic way in about 246 years. There is elections. There is public debate. There is the court system. There are all sorts of normal ways to deal with issues, including constitutional issues. This is not unprecedented. I have a fire extinguisher sitting over there. I've never had to put out a fire because there's other things I can do. Oh, the saucepan started blazing. I can put the cap on it. I don't have to spray CO2 everywhere like, John Holmes in one of his specialty films. I can do other things. So that's why we haven't used guns, because it's not necessary to use guns. We haven't had an election since this started. We've had a little bit of debate to the extent that's still allowed. We've got the court system. In fact, there have been some decisions that came down that are startlingly pro-freedom. So that's why we haven't started shooting people.
How are you holding up during the quarantine, though?
Well,
What's it like in California?
I don't participate in it. I do what I want, essentially.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is your environment certainly has changed. So how's that getting to you, or is it not?
It's changed in a sense. I can't go to a movie. I can't eat out. Not because I won't, but because other people won't open their businesses to do it. I go out all the time. I go out when I want for whatever reason I want. I refuse to allow it to control me. I just won't play.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying, but it really got to me for a bit, because when you're walking around and there's nothing to do, like, I mean, on a personal level, psychologically, it took a toll on me, at least.
You're a New Yorker. You have different, I mean, that's a whole different vibe. Your city is an exciting city. I live in a suburb. There's nothing to do except what I create to do, unless I go somewhere to do it. And I've gone, I've had people over, gone to other people's places. I haven't been able to go out to restaurants. I haven't been able to go out to bars. But, that's, in a kind of suburban lifestyle, that doesn't mean that you have nothing. I can't go see a one-man show in a 99-seat non-equity theater. Oh no, that's not. I can't go see a prop comic at the Chuckle Hut. I'll live for a little while. So it really, I mean, and my company is essential, so people still work. At least at mine. I'm a little pissed off about all the people who have been deemed non-essential. I would think that supporting your family is pretty fucking essential, but I love the people who presume to say what's essential and what isn't.
We got one question. I think I know the answer to this, but let me see if I get it correct. And if not, you can correct me, okay? Someone says, hey, Kurt, can you explain ahoy and quote tweeting libs with a number? I think, and I'm pretty sure I got this right, that's because they're all cruise captains. This is the National Review crowd, or whatever, especially the Weekly Standard crowd. And the number is how many followers they have. Is that correct?
The number is how many followers. Funny story. I do the numbers, and I get this email from Jared Holt. He like Right Wing Watch or some other fucking shithole. And he's like, well, I just was preparing an article on you, and I wanted to get your comment about why you tweet the number 14, which is well established to be a Hitler number for some reason.
It's not Hitler, it's white nationalism. 88's the Hitler number. 88.
Okay. I mean,
I had to learn this. It's my book.
It is in your book. It's a fine book, and people should buy it. So I wrote back, dear Jared. Okay, let me explain my background first. I'm a litigator who's won multi-million-dollar libel verdicts for people and defended successfully multi-million-dollar libel cases. So I'm going to tell you important facts that you do not want to recklessly disregard, since I am a public figure. I tweet out the number of followers of stupid people. And a cursory examination of my Twitter stream will reveal that I tweet out the numbers of followers of stupid people who tweet. So you now know why I do it. So accusing me of being some sort of Hitler follower, especially since I've, passed top secret security background checks and stuff, I think would fall under reckless disregard of the truth. And you probably want to put your insurance carrier on notice before you fucking accuse me of that. And I got a very nice letter. Go, oh, well, thanks for explaining it. I won't be proceeding. Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
well,
this is
he asked me the right question. I just told him a fucking answer.
Here's a good one. By the way, for those of you who are curious in the audience, Kurt is always like this, and that's
Curious?
why. No, like that. This is when Kurt's off camera. He's the same way, so he really is.
I actually am.
Yeah, it's really, really fun to watch the Kurt show, like in real life. I'm not gonna lie. Sam has a question, and I know the answer to this. This is a good one. I'm gonna twist it a little. He wanted me to intro you. I want to hear how you would intro yourself.
Oh, jeez.
Is that fun?
I have just a huge enough ego that I could do it off the top of my head because I practiced in my mind a million times.
Do it!
It's Kurt Schlichter. Hey, he's a man about town among conservatives. He's funny, an ex-stand-up comic, but he's also an Army colonel with a master's of strategic studies from the United States Army War College. A former squadron commander, Kurt is a powerful trial lawyer in Los Angeles and a well-established author, writing both fiction, which has been hailed by Bill Kristol as appalling, and nonfiction, including the books Conservative Insurgency, Militant Normals, and coming July 7th, The 21 Biggest Lies About Donald Trump and You from Regnery Books. Get it today. That's how I think I do it.
You'll get it in July. You'll be on the show. Wait, has he, did he, I hope you're joking. Did he literally use the word appalling?
Yes. No, he did. This was when the Bulwark decided, because and we're back to the Ahoy. That refers to the cruise ship grift that was the sole contribution to the debate of the establishment conservatives for years and years. All they did was gather money and go on these, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead shopping mall cruises, where donors stumbled about on the Lido deck while Avik Roy and fucking Jonathan Last did panel discussions on healthcare reform. And ahoy, and it pisses them off no end. And I just fuck with them all the time because they're just contemptible. So they decided to do a hit piece on me where they took my novels and they basically said, well, are they Civil War, race war fan fiction? And of course, they're not. They also said, well, they are very, very closely related to the Turner Diaries, the notorious.
Oh, please.
And I'm sitting there going, well, how would you know? Because I've never even seen a copy of it. I have no interest in it.
I have one in my house. You want to see it?
No, I have no. I mean, I have zero interest in it. I just never. But apparently they know it well enough. And the thing that got me, my favorite part, first of all, they're saying it's totally racist, and I'm like, okay, what color is the hero? Because I never mentioned it. To mostly piss people like him off. The other thing is the hero's name is Turnbull, and these are fun airport books, and they're shooting and making fun of liberals, and it's amusing, and people like them and enjoy them. But the hero's last name is Turnbull, and they're like, it's very close to Turner. It's so close.
God.
And I'm like, it was my middle school, you fucking retards.
Or it's a Ted Turner reference. What that? I mean, what do you? What? I mean,
Turnbull. It's a very butch name. Bull. I mean, it's these guys. They're not even good at what they think they're doing.
Right.
And then of course they're all tweeting each other back and forth about how horrible I am. And I'm like going, well, let's measure up. Have I ever grifted anyone? No. Have I ever waved goodbye to other people to go fight?
Wait, hold on. You're a lawyer. You're telling me you've never grifted anyone? Bullshit.
I'm a lawyer. I defend. Mostly.
Okay.
And on a few cases where I bring lawsuits, it's only for good people.
Okay. Someone wants to know if I cut my hair in honor of Dave Gahan's. How do you pronounce his name from Depeche Mode?
Dave Gahan. That was it. I was trying to figure it out. You were not going to get by without us discussing your hair.
Let's talk about the hair because I'm really excited about it. So I have to give a big fuck you on Twitter. I gave it to him already because I go down these rabbit holes, and someone said, "Hey, what's that?"
Yeah, you're subterranean and shit. Yeah.
And he said, why don't you go down a rabbit hole with hair care products? And at the time, I wasn't looking for a new rabbit hole. Then I figured out how to make my hair straight. And now I'm like, I could have a lot of fun with this because it's long because of the quarantine. So I'm getting these hair waxes that color your hair. That they invent them now. Like you just make it like yellow overnight and it goes away. Like
I can
yellow.
totally do that. Look at this.
It'll be fun. I'm getting a gray one. So, and then I'm going to start messing with my hair and doing all sorts of things. And it'll be a lot of fun. Like, why not?
Look at I don't think my hair's been this long in like 40 years.
Here's a question I don't understand. Will Kelly ever give up his beloved 45 AARP?
No, that's a thing. He's stubborn. But my favorite, look, I like I'm proud of the books. The books are fun. I enjoy them. I wrote them. But what weirds me out is people come up and start talking to me about the characters. And there's so many characters. I'll be like, who's that?
Yeah.
I'll be like, holy shit. And you get the Star Trek guys. Well, in book 1, right, I remember, he broke his finger. And then book 4, his finger was fine. Did he have like an operation? Was there physical therapy? And I'm like, it's a secret. I don't know. I'm very I'm super gratified that people like the books. It's stunning though that someone will come and you wrote an amazing book about Korea. I mean, and this is a book that hit me. I didn't expect to be sideswiped by it, but it's both funny and appalling. And at the end, it's like moving because you're like, at the end, you're kind of like hit with, holy shit, this is really fucking happening to human beings right now. And, you kind of bring us down the rabbit hole. And at the bottom of the rabbit hole is, this is the fucking disaster that's going on and it's real. But, it's always a little weird that people appreciate what you've written in a weird way.
Yeah.
And they're like, Kurt, I really like what you've written. And, I have a giant ego. So I like that part. But it's always like, oh, you mean me? Kind of weird.
Yeah. Because it's just me and my laptop. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's just a story I'm telling to amuse people.
Well, I mean, I got to tell you, that's one of the reasons I'm doing these hangs now is because I've been hearing from a lot of people that these things are helping them with their social isolation. Uh-huh. So you and I riff really easily. So I thought this would be, and this way they can chat with us too. This is actually helping a lot of people. Like, if it works for them, more power to them. Is there a trick to getting away with talking politics and being in the military?
I never talked about politics when I was on duty, ever.
Okay.
Because that's kind of punkish, not like cool punk with like, loud, fast music, but like just little bitch stuff. Because I was always like a colonel or what, and I was fairly high rank. So if I say something, is anyone free to disagree with me? Am I opening a debate or do I have that rank that keeps people from engaging me as an equal in a discussion that's only appropriate when you're engaging equals?
Yeah.
So I just didn't do it. I don't do it at the office. I don't know the politics of most of the people at my office.
And that's how it should be.
Well, it doesn't matter. And I assume they know mine because they know I got a radio show or whatever. I don't talk to them about it. I don't discuss it with them. It's none of my business what they think. And, they go do what you want. That's America, sort of. Was. Although I'm becoming much more like you in that I'm like beginning to think anarchy might be the best solution. The myriad bad solutions for human interaction.
Here's a good question from Dwight. Has the lockdown affected your opinion of the police?
Yes.
How so?
I'm disappointed at the sheer number who apparently never heard of Nuremberg.
Yeah.
There are a lot of them who just do, if somebody told me, hey, Kurt, I want you to go to a church and take down the license plate of all the people who were there because they're worshiping without my permission. I'd look at the guy and just go, that's a really funny joke. Anyway, off to the donut shop. I just wouldn't do it. And apparently it's fairly easy to find guys who will. Guys who, come to people's house. I've heard you allowing play dates. Now, not all cops are like. I've had cops drive by my house when me and some people are out front, enjoying a beverage. They're kind of like, How you doing? Bye. Just doing their thing. But there's a lot of, you remember those giant, the Heifer twins with the AR-15 and the pistol, and they're gigantic, and they're by an armored personnel carrier, an MRAP, and they're raiding a protest. There are a bunch of people out there who don't have masks, and they're not social distancing, and they're protesting lockdown, and we're going to send a fucking SWAT team. Okay, if you support for the police is not unconditional. Conservatives generally like the police. If you become our enemy by doing the bidding of people who hate us, don't look for support. It's just not going to be there. That's just human nature. Don't be a dipshit.
What do you see as the scenario where citizens actually openly rebel against their government? And they want you to team up with the Black Rifle Coffee Range 15 crew to make a Turnbull movie.
I would love to do that part. Look, I think it is logistically and not philosophically, but logistically, and it's just otherwise difficult to imagine a circumstance where things come together, where people start shooting lead at each other. And the purpose of an armed citizenry is not to shoot people. It's to have people go, I don't want to screw with these guys. I don't want to push them too far. That's the reason you have an armed citizenry. So they can't be pushed around. And eventually, if you send, somebody, if a bunch of people show up to take away my Orthodox Jewish neighbors, then we're going to see some lead flying if they decide that's the road they want to go down. Because nobody's ever going to do that. It just, it just ain't happening. On the other hand, if somebody, the 99.99999% of the time, there is a dispute, and sometimes there's very real disputes and very real pressure, there are other ways to deal with it. You can elect a better person. You can go to court. You can commit civil disobedience. There are a bunch of other ways, and they're all better ways. Look, I've been in the ruins of a civil war. I served in Kosovo. I saw what happened. I walked through the ruins. Okay, it's the most action-packed, I guess, the most interesting of the scenarios. It's always the dystopian scenario is always the most interesting, right? It's always the zombie movie, not the movie about the guy with the cold, except for like Contagion, which was a shitty movie. The only good thing is Gwyneth Paltrow died, but. That's why it gets the attention. It's because it's unusual. It's because no one really thinks it's going to happen. Could it happen? I guess in theory. Do we want it to happen? No. Is it likely to happen? No. How could it happen? You get a government that pushes, and all the system supports law, rule of law, rule of elections. They collapse.
Yeah, the way I look at it is like people can understand how the concept is if you jack up prices on cigarettes, it's going to discourage people from buying them. It makes the cost higher and higher. It's not like everyone is still, mentally, I have to pay $100 for the cigarettes. Same thing with having an armed citizenry. It doesn't mean all those armed citizens are going to start shooting at all. It just means it gets harder and harder to convince officers to be engage in things that are usurpacious and to just go door to door. Be like, you know what? This is going to be really, really expensive on every level. Let's try to find another way.
Exactly. You want to discourage bad actions. I mean, that's the idea. Checks and balances, and one of the checks is everybody's got a gun. That makes it considerably more difficult than in a situation where everybody doesn't. Like in China. They can weld you in the fucking house. You start welding an American in the house, you better make sure that fucking door is metal, because there's going to be lead coming through it.
What do you think of the historical common law right to defend yourself against cops who are acting fascistically or illegally?
First of all, I'm not going to give anybody legal advice, so don't ask me what I do as a lawyer. I think whenever you use violence, you are assuming a risk that somebody later is going to judge it wrong. Like those guys in Georgia, that situation where that guy was killed, and I know nothing about it. I know that they apparently thought they were justified. Apparently, the prosecutor doesn't. If you shoot somebody or use a weapon, somebody's going to look at it, as they should. If somebody's lying there dead, I think we all deserve answers. Sometimes, somebody may decide that you were wrong. Somebody may make an incorrect analysis. Won't be the first time a jury got it wrong.
Yeah.
The answer is, of course, don't get into that situation. You can act unless you can act absolutely not avoid it. It is better to avoid. Yeah, look, I spent 27 years learning how to execute organized violence. I don't get involved in violence unless you have to. I mean, it's just simple, and this is not new information. The only people who really want to get into violence are thugs and very immature young people who want action.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think is the worst part of what's been going on right now?
I think the submission of a lot of people, and it's kind of a stereotype of the suburban moms who think, well, it's really scary, and we don't have time for rights right now, and it's just better if these people be out of work. Now, my husband still has his job, selling Synergy and marketing Synergy, and doing things with Synergy. He can do that from the house. And it's okay for us. There's a lot of people it isn't okay for. And I see a lot of people not thinking about others. And I see a lot of people who say, well, freedom's not that important.
Yeah.
It is very important. And it gets more important every fucking day. And I think a lot of people are going to get militant about this stuff. And to the extent they do, that's good.
Yeah, I've just been very concerned, not in the political aspect, but in the social aspect of how this does not bode well for things like mental illness and self-care. I mean, one of the big criticisms of capitalism, supposedly, is that it atomizes society and forces us not to have these interrelationships, which are the basis of any kind of functioning country. And now, by law, we're being forced to not interact, being forced to be isolated, being forced to, on every level, be alone, and that's not what works well with a social animal like human beings.
I think you're absolutely right. I don't think this is the problem of the rule of experts.
Yeah.
I'm listening to the science. Okay, you should definitely listen to the science, but you should listen to all the scientists, and you should listen to other people too. Some of the scientists are mental health professionals. There's going to be a consequence. Some are addiction specialists. They're going to see a bunch of people self-medicating. That's not going to go well. There are other people have different interests. Hey, I've got economic interests. I'm going to go bankrupt. That's an important consideration. When you start listening to this narrow band and doing its bidding, the narrow band being the epidemiological community, at least the Fauci version, then you're not listening to anyone else. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Now, I know you don't approve of government at all, but allegedly government is supposed to somehow synthesize the will of the people and do it. This is the exact opposite of that, because when you synthesize the will of your people, you're supposed to mix all the interests together, balance them, or choose among them. This is an abdication of that. Just by saying, well, I'm going to do what the scientists say, that's not leadership. That's just, okay, this guy in the white coat's going to tell us what to do based on what he thinks is best, and he doesn't know anything about your life or your situation, and he doesn't care because he's a fucking doctor. I remember when I was in Kosovo, I got appendicitis, and I go up to the hospital. We had a combat support hospital there, and they say, we think it's appendicitis. We're not sure what we want to do, though. The surgeon, we want to talk to the surgeon. He's out helping some civilians. He'll be back in a while. We want to wait to see what he says. And I say, he's a fucking surgeon. What do you think he's going to say? And they kind of look at each other, and sure as shit, I got the fucking gown and the IV, and As soon as he got back, oh yeah, cut. I got a big
Have,
scar.
Michael had a message about. Have you been following the Duncan Lemp story?
Duncan Lemp.
It's It's a whole long thing. I can get into that at length. But we got another question from Perry. Excuse me. He wants to know your opinion on what's going on with Michael Flynn.
I think the whole Michael Flynn thing is what's happening now. What's been happening for the last 5 years, really, is the whole premises of post-war American society have been just completely dug up and dumped. It's the whole pandemic thing has shown that, government's not completely, well, we knew it wasn't completely trustworthy, but a lot of people didn't. A lot of people still believed in it. Showed that a lot of Americans really aren't committed to freedom. The Michael Flynn thing shows that a bunch of our establishment believes that basic civil rights are optional and that it's perfectly appropriate to use the government to manufacture crimes to take out political opponents.
Which is very Soviet. Very Soviet.
It is. It's unbelievably Soviet, and it exploits what, until at least now, was the assumption that, it's the FBI. They've got integrity. From Malice Jr., they would never do this. They created a crime. They hid evidence. There are myriad crimes here. Everything from going in there and with the intent of knowing he wasn't guilty of anything, but they went to him hoping that they could manufacture a crime that didn't exist for an investigation that had no basis. They then changed the evidence. They had the reports and they altered those. And then they hid them from the defense attorney until just recently. The Brady case is very clear. Any exculpatory evidence must be turned over. Don't you think that a report by the fucking FBI that says we found no evidence supporting continuing this investigation would be an important fucking thing to turn over? Or a note that says, are we going there to get him to admit something that he didn't do? That would be important too. And they hid that. And then, even with the guilty plea, when you do a plea, right, if you're going to cooperate, you do a plea agreement which says, I'll plead guilty and I will cooperate in the prosecution of other people. And that has to be in writing, has to contain every benefit you get, and be approved by a judge. Why does it have to do that? Because when you go to court to testify against the next guy has the right to the exculpatory evidence. That is your deal. Look at this deal. Flynn only pled guilty, and he's only saying this to protect his kid from being prosecuted. That's a really, really important fact. They didn't include that in the written agreement.
We got a question, and I don't know if this is a joke or not. He wants to know, what do you think about groups like the Socialist Rifle Association? And I don't know if he means the NRA or if there really is a group called the Socialist Rifle Association. I don't know.
I think there is. It's called the People's Liberation Army.
Yeah.
The Socialist Rifle Association. See, the funny thing is that there was a time when there was a kind of swashbuckling masculinity to these socialist guys, where you had Che, who actually fought and actually murdered people. He died like a pussy on his knees begging for his life. But he was a man of action, and it looked like he probably got laid once or twice. And now you look at today's socialists, and the ones that don't seem to have gone and eaten the means of production, they don't look like they could do a fucking push-up. It's just not. And of course, they're required to have an anti-masculine, anti-cis head vibe to stay cool with all the SJW types. So, no, I'm not worried about them, because I think they're ruthless, but I don't think they're tough.
Yeah, it's because to your point, the socialist movement came out of the working man.
Yeah,
these are people who are physically moving things 12 hours a day. They're strong.
Exactly. Longshoremen socialists.
Yeah,
these guys would kick the shit out of you. You can say a lot of bad things about them. They're socialists. That's pretty fucking bad. But they weren't pussies.
Concerning Michael Flynn, would actively deceiving the public through conspiracy be considered treason?
No. Treason is very clearly defined in the Constitution as laying war against the United States or giving aid and comfort to its enemies.
Okay.
This was probably a criminal conspiracy, false statements. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. Maybe wire fraud. No, because that requires money. No, there are a number of things that this. I mean, it was just a civil rights violation. I think a 1983 claim.
Deborah wants to thank you for your great information.
Oh, well, thank you. Hey, give me 1 second. I got to go get something.
Yeah, go for it. Oh, thank God he's gone. What's going on, guys? This is kind of fun. This is our first time. I'm glad Kurt was being a good sport and being a guinea pig. We had 600 people here. So we got Buck Sexton lined up. I've got Corey DeAngelis lined up. I think I'll be doing this fairly regularly because I think it's fun for everybody. And it's a good hang. Maybe I should do them during the day. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'm disappointed with this Joe Glow. I guess I'm going to use it. I think this is illegal now because it's got those silica that you can't have anymore. I'll ask Kurt all those questions you guys are firing at me when he gets back. Did you just change shirts? No? Okay.
No, it's the same shirt.
Okay.
Actually, I wore this shirt yesterday. It's the only collared shirt that I have that I haven't sent it. That's informal enough to wear that I haven't sent over to the cleaners, and I haven't gone to the cleaners in like a week and a half. Not because of the flu, just because I'm a lazy motherfucker. I'm getting lazier.
What about the Moroccan Islamic Liberation Front? I don't know what that is. Oh, he means MILF.
I don't know. What do they?
I think he means MILF.
Oh, nice.
You thought I didn't catch it. I caught it.
Liberation Front.
Do you see any changes coming to justice system, courts, or the DO from the Flynn fallout in terms of coerced confessions under threats from the state? This is a big deal. But can I say one thing before you answer? I think there's a lot of people who are, whatever word you want to use, who can't wrap their heads around the fact that someone would take a guilty plea in exchange for not having the possibility of a far bigger sentence when they are in fact innocent. People can't wrap their heads around this, or pretend they can't.
I think we're learning. Look, conservatives were operating under the impression, and we talked about it a little earlier, that the police were always our friends and doing the right thing. And we have seen evidence that doesn't always happen. And look, it's it's good to get woke. Yeah. We need to. There is a possibility of dealing with this issue because people on the right have started coming out and seeing it. Now, some people on the left have been talking about it, although apparently the criminal justice system's perfect if you're part of the liberal establishment this week. But people on the conservative side are like, oh, now I understand why somebody might plead guilty to something he didn't do. It never occurred to me. I mean, that's, and people do confess all the time. Sometimes it's true. Sometimes, in fact, it isn't. My thought is, if I were ever picked on a jury, and I think that is unlikely that I will ever be picked again, mostly because if it's a federal one and they ask, are you biased against any party? I'd say, why, yes. I don't believe a goddamn thing any FBI agent says.
It won't work. It won't work.
I'll be like, Your Honor, you can keep me on court.
Let's just say
if you want to, but I don't believe it.
If someone wants to go for grand jury and you tell them I'm an anarchist and I will not vote to convict on any of these cases, they will still put you on the grand jury. Just FYI.
Fine. Well, look, my obligation if I take the oath is to be honest. I don't believe FBI agents. If he comes in and tells me El Chapo's selling drugs, I have a bias against it. I am unlikely to believe it. And you'll see El Chapo there going.
Will there be consequences for Flynn's corporate lawyers that were defending him?
I was talking about, that's more my area because I do civil litigation.
Yeah.
A lawyer must zealously defend his client and must use be essentially act reasonably as a reasonable lawyer would. My thought is, if I were Sidney Powell, I would sit down at my desk and write a letter saying, okay, I want you to call your insurance carrier and I want you to pay me your policy limits. And this is the last time I'm going to make that offer. Now, you might win at trial. You've got a favorable venue. Washington, D.C. is probably very favorable. But the discovery that comes out, when we do Eric Holder in a depot, videotape depot, and all the rest of you, your reputation is going to be a smoking ruin to the extent it isn't already. So you should give me all of your money. You should give me every penny of your insurance policy, which is probably 10 million, 15 million.
Wow.
And if I was the managing partner at Covington, based on what I know, I might call my carrier and go, you get this freaking settled. You take whatever. I demand you take and settle this case.
People want to know what I don't know what to call these streams. Someone's calling it malice with mensches, but that's not true because a lot of people won't be a mensch. What should I call these?
It a malice of forethought.
Yeah, but it's not a forethought though.
Yeah, I know, but it's just flows. Malice is Wonderland.
Oh, that's not bad.
We got the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Speaking of working people, have you read Eric Hoffer? Yeah, he wrote The True Believer. Have you read that one? It's a classic.
I have not.
I didn't love it. I think it tries to make it out the idea that if you're one of these brainwashed true believers, therefore you're right wing, and it's like no, it makes I read this 20 years ago, so I might be talking out of my ass, but I don't. I was not a particularly big fan of it. Although I do have en route to my house a first edition of Gustave Le Bon's book, The Crowd, from 1896, which was crowdfunded, which I'm very excited about.
Crowdfunding the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
I kind of like that. I find it interesting that people who were allegedly supposed to be listening to and respect think that human nature only applies to certain humans instead of all of them.
Yeah.
I think of, there's a difference between being smart and being wise. I know a lot of smart people, but wise people understand human nature. If you're religious, you would add in the relationship between man and God. Although Solomon really fucked up. Solomon's the wisest guy. At the end, he let a bunch of chicks tell him to go worship fucking trees and Moloch and shit. So maybe, wisdom doesn't always work. But I think wisdom is the understanding of how people behave normally and in unusual situations. Just more common sense than intelligence. Because there are a lot of really smart people who have no fucking sense. And this Hopper guy, the thought that, this is unique, this kind of foolishness is unique to conservatives. That's just stupid. It'd also be stupid saying it's unique to liberals. There are some conservatives who do silly things. I think quantity, the sheer quantity may vary. But, we got some, I got some folks on my side that sometimes I'm just like, no. Who just don't listen. And they're, but they're one thing I do find about conservatives is they're really eager to learn about conservatism. Like the guy who said, well, is it treason when they do this? That's not a stupid question. That's a good question. Because, you probably didn't learn in school. What exactly does treason mean? Why would it apply here? Why wouldn't it? And the person goes, well, does it apply? And, I just happen to be a lawyer and I know that subject. Well, no, here's the answer. And then the next time somebody says, well, it's treason, he's going to go, no, that's not treason, because treason is one of the only crimes not defined in the Constitution. It's actually a bunch of other things. I'm not saying it's not bad, but it's not treason. And I think among particularly I see it very pronounced among the left who think they are smart. They do not have any curiosity.
Can Holder be disbarred? Can it go that far, or somebody else? I don't
know if Holder did anything personal.
Okay, but can someone be disbarred?
Other lawyers could be. There definitely could be some disbarments out there.
Wow.
And arguably should be. I'm very disgusted with these prosecutors. If I was Judge Sullivan, I would say, hey, 9 a.m., bring your fucking mask. You can socially distance, but you're going to be in court with your fucking supervisor, and you're going to explain to me why this agreement was not put on paper, and you're going to explain to me why these documents were not turned over when I gave you a specific order that they would be, when you specifically certified that all potential exculpatory evidence has been given over, and I reserve the right to sanction you and refer you to the bar or the United States attorney as appropriate. And
Wow.
that would be how I would handle it.
How common is something like this? Do you know?
Very uncommon, sadly.
Okay.
And that's why it happens.
No, I mean, how common is it that it happens?
Oh, I think it's probably fairly common. I'm not a criminal lawyer. My mom was. In '76, she became a prosecutor in San Mateo County, California. And I always remembered this. She said the first day I went in, I went to the DA himself, and he sat down because I was the new one. She was also female, so that was a little unusual. And he said, okay, you are never to go to trial in a case you don't 100% believe we're right on. Your job is not to get convictions. Your job is to do justice. If you feel a case is not provable beyond a reasonable doubt with solid admissible evidence, then you dismiss it, and I will back you. And I just thought, wow, that's the answer. And these guys weren't doing that. The right answer through this stuff would say, no, sir, I'm not doing that. That's bullshit. Yeah. Or, holy crap, look at this document we found. Crap, we have to give it over. In civil litigation, you give over documents that hurt you all the time. All the time. Oh, crap, this report's really unfavorable. Shit, I've got to give it over. And you just do. I assume some people hide it. I've heard of it. It hasn't happened around me. I get documents all the time. I'm like, ooh, look at this. They gave me documents that really screw them. And you've got to do that.
I mean,
and if there are no consequences, people won't. And there haven't been enough consequences.
Right. Yeah. Okay. When did you first realize something was up with this?
I thought it stank from the first moment.
Okay.
I couldn't put my finger on it. Initially I was like more concerned that Pence said he lied to him, and which wasn't a crime. That was that Pence misled or that Flynn misled Pence, and I'm like, well, you can't mislead your boss, so I guess I understand why he has to go. But and I think that whatever that was has kind of faded into the background. The criminal stuff, it's like, why are you charging him for this shit? It's it's not perjury. It's false statement. And remember, lying to the FBI is not a crime. Lying to the FBI, making an intentional misrepresentation on a material fact, with material being related to a legitimate investigation, is a crime. Whether it should be or shouldn't be is another issue. I think there's a lot of these, frankly, bullshit crimes, these process crimes. I mean, they're so abused. Yeah. Martha Stewart didn't go to jail for stock fraud. She went because she misled the prosecutors, who knew the answer already.
Right. They want to example her.
And I'm no fan of Martha Stewart, and I don't think it's good that you lie. On the other hand, if you're going to take someone's freedom, take 6 to 8 months of their life, 10 years of their life, maybe you ought to have fucking reason. And juries are like, well, okay.
This is the kind of question I like, and I know my answer. What's your favorite Mel Brooks movie?
I mean, that's so easy. I mean, it's Blazing Saddles. I also like The Producers.
I'm a Spaceballs guy, but I'm a little younger.
Never seen Spaceballs.
Joan Rivers is C3PO.
I know of it.
It's so good. Do you think there's a way to flip California or LA red, or does it still have to bottom out more?
Yeah, California is the alcoholic that hasn't bottomed out yet.
Yeah.
It's just going to go on and on. There is no bottom for the leadership. You understand that as long as the leadership's there, it'll go down and down like Venezuela. You would think if the leadership of Venezuela who's intellectually related to that of California, were to,
Right.
you know, they'll never quit. They've gotten to a place where people are eating zoo animals. Okay, so the ones in California will never quit. We'll have to take our state back and throw them out. And I don't know if California is ready to do that. You know, somebody was telling me a story that they went to Fresno, and they were standing in line, and apparently, who knows? Remember when you could stand in line and hear other people? And some people were saying, "Yeah, we just moved from San Francisco. They're bums and crime, and the streets are filthy." And the guy said, "Well, great. Just make sure you vote Republican." They looked like him, looked at him like he cut a giant fart.
Yeah.
And,
well, I'm not going to change my behavior.
Well, what? No, we'll come here and do it. Just like like kids, they leave a mess. It gets too messy, they go somewhere else and leave a mess there. Oh, well, no, like the coastal Indians who used to do that. They would leave their mounds.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it just got too filthy, they burn the village.
Are there any right?
No one's trick.
Are there any right-wing organizations out there that you like?
I don't like organizations.
Yeah, that's fair.
I really don't. I kind of like decentralized chaos.
Okay,
I like a large number of smaller groups, each of which can advocate for its own niche.
They want to know, are we past the point of turning the law from being a political weapon wielded against the citizenry into one that protects them? Most people don't have the money to fight back against the legal system.
We are not past that point yet. We can still do it. But it's going to take, first of all, a lot of people have gotten woke. Second of all, when you're on a jury, be freaking militant. My attitude, and look, I try cases. I win some, I win more, and I lose. But I've lost. They haven't agreed with what I said. But I always felt they gave me a fair shot. I didn't do criminal stuff.
Right.
But in criminal stuff, your attitude ought to be, oh, you want me to send this man to prison for years. Okay, this better be fucking good. And if it isn't, sorry, you didn't do it. Too many people, well, that policeman sure looked good in his uniform. And, that guy looks a little rough around the edges. He probably broke in there. I don't know if it's beyond a reasonable doubt, but, I think we need to be militant about prosecuting people. I'm no fan of criminals. I have no problem with putting people who have done things, and an appropriate sentence. Although I think we put too many people in jail.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it just, for whatever, like Manafort. I'll use him as an example. He's looking at 10 years, 7 or 8 years in jail. And he's like an old man. I don't think that's justice for what he's accused of doing. Michael Avenatti's looking at 40 years. I don't think we should take the next 40 years of the guy's life. I don't like the guy. Saw him around the courthouse recently. He's actually outside my courtroom.
How's he looking?
He was very, very sprightly at the time. This is like in November. I mean, I don't like the guy. I don't think he should go to jail for 40 years. I think I think when you're going to take years of somebody's life, that's a big consideration. And frankly, I'm not sure that 3 years is less of a 3 years in jail is much less of a deterrent than 10 years.
What's the first thing you're going to do when this is lifted, or are you saying it doesn't really matter?
I'm going to a restaurant.
Yeah.
That's my big change.
Yeah.
I like going to restaurants. I want to support the people who work at the restaurants. I want to help them out. I think they're getting hurt. Look, I'm lucky. I can still do most of my work. I mean, there's been an impact, particularly on the law, because nobody's able to do anything. But there's a lot of people who are really hurt, and that's kind of bothersome.
What are some of your favorite restaurants in LA? Let's give a shout out.
Voltaire, which is a steak place in Brentwood. Beautiful. Very fancy. Gosh, I'm just trying to think. There's a barbecue place called the Maple Block in Culver City that I like a lot.
Okay. Barbecue's good.
Yeah. Yes. Barbecue is good when it's done the right way.
Yeah, it is.
I'm trying to do it myself. Arena's advocating for me getting a smoker. Which
Do it.
I agree. This makes, she's the perfect woman. She told me I need more guns, and she keeps arguing that I need to get a smoker.
Dude, that's so fun.
I just think it's like a great, I'm like, do you really want me going down that rabbit hole?
But no, like smoking anything's good. Smoked oysters, smoked fish, smoked chicken.
Oh, come on. I don't eat seafood.
Is that true?
Yes. No seafood. Nothing. You're going to go shrimp? And I'm going to go, it's seafood. I don't eat it. You don't eat mollusks? No. Eels? No. Octopus? No. It comes from the sea. I don't eat it. At anything. It's not, no, I'm not allergic. No, it's not a religious objection. I just despise it. It just horrifies me. It's like tomato juice. I just can't be a part of it. There's something inherently creepy about it. Clamato is just like the worst thing ever.
Do you agree that courts can only function politically due to the wide range of interpretations of case law, which are often contradictory, that litigators go in assuming their political end and use law to justify it post hoc?
I go in every single time I go into court to prove my client's case.
Okay.
And that's my job. I have to be a zealous advocate. My job is not to determine, well, I think your case is bad, so I won't advocate for you. As long as it's legal and supported by substantial admissible evidence and a plausible legal theory, whether, that's my job. That's what I agree to do for people. There are many times where I go, well, I can make this motion. If I were a judge, I might not grant it, but a judge could grant it, so I can make it. I make the argument. I cite case law. There's, it's interesting the way precedent works. There's sometimes you find stuff that's absolutely contradictory. That's fairly rare, though. Usually, most 95% of legal precedent is pretty much commonly established. Then you get to weird questions. And it's very rare when you have two substantial cases with precedential value that are at loggerheads. But I've had that. I had a state court decision and a federal court decision that were completely contrary on the very same issue.
Oh, wow.
And but different cases. But I had I argued to one, yes, you're right, Your Honor. The other one, well, this other court says this, and you should listen to them, Your Honor.
Can we turn the U.S. citizens from Mexican origin to vote Republican in California? Can they be receptive to the conservative message?
I think anybody can be receptive to the conservative message. I think that I'm just listening to a podcast on the Mexican Revolution right now because I don't know a lot about Mexico, and I'm learning it's a very different country with very, very different traditions that have led to very, very different, cultural norms, and those cultural norms are not necessarily the same as those the founding fathers.
Yeah.
That being said, after one generation, well, now they start getting to be Americans, and you tend to become more conservative when you feel you have an investment in the system, when you feel you have stuff. Not always. It's interesting that all the billionaires are liberal.
Yeah.
Or call themselves liberal, where they're liberal. Nobody's liberal about his own stuff. Nobody at Facebook is liberal about, regulating Facebook.
Right.
But no, so the answer is, first of all, I don't really think race matters that much. I think culture does. I think people are influenced by their parents, and then by the culture initially, and then by the culture at large. So, I'm working right now to try and get a guy named Mike Garcia elected for Katie Hill's old seat. Remember, she's the one who defiled the hotel room chair doing the truffle hairbrushing. He's running for a seat as a Republican. Mike Garcia, right? Very conservative guy, Navy Academy, aviator, businessman. He's got he's got the name Garcia. A couple generations ago, just like a couple generations ago, my guys were from Scotland. His were probably from wherever in Mexico. And he's conservative. So, long story short, I think the value of the arguments over time will prevail. I think people's culture may make them more resistant to it in the short term. But over time, if we have the best ideas, I think we'll tend to win.
And there's also the peer pressure.
But I think it'll bend in our direction.
There's also the peer pressure issue. If your whole family's voting one party, it's going to be very hard for you to vote something else, unless you want to have daddy issues or something like that.
True, but families break up.
Sure.
In the sense that, first generation, they're very close. Second generation, well, now Javier has moved to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Where he's going to take a job, in an insurance company. And now Javier, not having his parents go, oh, those terrible Republicans. Now he's around a bunch. Now he's living out in the suburbs in Parkville, Missouri, and everybody's a Republican, and he's kind of like, oh, yeah, I kind of agree with you about this Republican governor cutting real estate taxes. Yeah, that's not bad. And then that's how change goes. Now, of course, people can move the other way too.
Sure.
But
here's a good one I really want to hear your answer to. Do you think SCOTUS will take up any of the pending 2A cases, or does Roberts not want to touch the issue ever again? That's a great question.
It is a great question. I am baffled why they haven't. I have a feeling it's Roberts not wanting to do it. I certainly hope Trump gets another nominee. Watch there become a Supreme Court vacancy in the next 6 weeks, because wouldn't that just be exactly what you expect after this kind of chaos? I think Roberts. I don't trust Roberts. I think Roberts is soft. I think he is influenced by his milieu of kind of rhino Republicans around D.C. who don't really understand why those hicks need their AR-15s.
Yeah.
And I don't think he wants to have to make a decision, because the decision he makes, that is one of the few decisions. If you come out with a decision that says Americans don't have the right to keep and bear arms, and you have a bunch of states suddenly deciding, oh, great, now we can ban guns, because it won't just go back to before Heller. It'll be active. Okay, now we're fucking taking it, because it's much more vindictive system, much more vindictive paradigm. That's when I can see actual serious trouble.
Jason says super chats are like an intellectual strip club. You put out enough money and someone will pay attention to you. I love it. That's not really true on Twitter.
Make it rain, baby. Make it rain.
We got another. Why should old stock Americans support the GOP when they are just as anxious to flood our homelands with foreigners as the Democrats? Well, you're talking to one. I wasn't born in this country.
Look. Real conservatives are not against foreigners. They're for Americans. And we especially like Americans who choose to be American. And it's not so much that, foreigners are bad. It's when you take, 10 million people and dump them into a society without any kind of consideration or understand, and getting rid of the old understanding that we had, which is the melting pot thing, which gets a lot of grief. And I think the melting pot idea is fucking fabulous. You're going to come here, you're going to get rid of the old constraints, old ways of thinking, and you're going to become an American. Doesn't mean that you get rid of your culture, but it does mean that you get rid of the parts of your culture that conflict with the vision of the founding fathers. And we aren't doing that. It's come on in here and just, vote Democrat, essentially. And that's not acceptable.
We got a great question. What issue do you think, I'm going to conflate this, leftists have the best or at least most understandable position on?
I think their opinion on criminal justice has been accepted, not entirely, but we're more receptive to it.
Yeah.
I think their cynicism about it was probably to some extent justified, not completely, but some of it. What else? I think the old leftist claimed love of civil rights, which I think was more, let's have civil rights until we get what we want, then we can
Yeah.
stop, as we've seen. If you believe it was honest, I think they were correct about that.
What?
Other than that, I don't really have. I mean, do you call civil right the civil rights struggle, was that a leftist struggle? If you want to, the idea that we're not going to discriminate by race, because it certainly isn't what they think now.
Right.
Yeah. Other than that, though, a lot of what they do is not particularly good, not particularly in tune with human nature.
Here's one that I know how I'd answer. I want to hear how you'd answer this. Politics is downstream of culture. Can we convince people to be conservative with intellectual arguments, but no control over messaging in mainstream movies, TV, or cable news?
Well, we have.
Okay.
Obviously, because we got about 50% of American would be going to the conservative pot. I mean, the idea, I think you're in the conservative pot only because you're not in the leftist pot.
Sure.
Their pot is exclusionary.
Yeah.
And our pot is kind of like, hey, we'll take anybody who doesn't fucking hate us. I don't give a shit.
Right.
But the fact is, about half of Americans, despite an overwhelming cultural tsunami of leftist propaganda, half of Americans are right there with us. And many of the other half don't buy all the crap that the leftists are pushing. I mean, there are a lot of Democrats out there who understand that boys have penises and girls don't, and in a lot of allegedly conservative way, they're conservative in some ways, though you wouldn't get that it's in contrast to the media message. So the answer is yes. Can we do more? I think we need to. I think that technology is a way to do it. I think my books, for instance, are made possible because Amazon exists and they can print them for me and distribute them for me and make money. The movie industry is changing. The video entertainment system is changing. Right now, there are, we thought we were going to get rid of all the gatekeepers. Instead, the gatekeepers are Hulu, Netflix, and Amazon, and they are very liberal gatekeepers, and they do discriminate against conservative entertainment. But there's new stuff all the time. Look, we're on something called SteamYard. Until you sent me the link an hour and 13 minutes ago, I didn't know SteamYard existed.
I learned about it 2 hours ago from Corey DeAngelis, who's the one who's at Pro School Choice on Twitter. Yep.
But the thing is, so technology's out there that eventually we're going to go around the Hulus and the Netflix and the Amazons if they're not giving us what we want. And of course, one thing that I find interesting about capitalism, and I've changed my mind because I thought, well, the way we're going to win is there's going to be a market for this stuff, and they won't leave money on the table. But in fact, they will leave money on the table. By going niche, they will get enough money. Look at late night. Although now Fox with Gutfeld has the #1 late night show on basic cable. Greg Gutfeld, if you can believe it, who went to high school a mile from me at the same time I went in San Mateo, California.
We got time for, I think, one more. How might things go if Ruth Bader Ginsburg falls to coronavirus?
See, I like that twist because they'll blame Trump for it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it'll be Trump murdered her. He has no right to appoint anyone. He also has no right to appoint anyone because he's orange and a man and bad.
And impeached.
And it will be Hiroshima, Nagasaki, plus any we talk, plus Tsar Bomba on that unpronounceable Russian island. It will be the biggest, most hilarious thing ever. Trump will put in a woman God knows what they will do. Is she running a secret sex cult?
Yeah.
Is she a drug addict? It would be glorious and horrendous. I would love to see it happen. Look, I'm not wishing. Let me clarify. I'm not wishing death on Ruth Bader Ginsburg. In fact, she's one of the few liberals I respect, and she's so fucking tough.
Yeah.
She just for all the sissies, she actually is tougher than any of them. And you got, I believe that you should respect a tough enemy. You don't have to like them, but don't caricature. She is a tough lady. I do not wish ill on her. I wish she would go retire and be with her family. But eventually she is going to leave the court. Breyer's going to leave the court. And if that happens soon, that will be not at all unexpected. I will be surprised if it doesn't, just because of the fact that we're in the middle of a black swan. Look, we're looking for the white swan right now.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Kurt. I'm going to be doing these fairly regularly. I think it helps people not stay so isolated. And say hi to Irina for me.
We're all doing what we have to do to stay good to go.
Yeah. So I'll see you soon. I'll be in LA before we know it, hopefully.
Oh, great. And we'll go out to Zanku Chicken and make it happen.
Yes, sir. I love that place. Okay, take care, guys.
Adios.